Cameraman Grades, cameramangrades.com, professional consultations for camera operators, video coordinators, and sports video experts at all levels. Find us at cameramangrades.com or contact us directly at cameramangrades@gmail.com for your own sports video consultation. Currently looking for the best camera operator of the 2025 NFL season. These are the best of the best, and we are going to put it to the test. Today we are starting with the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks in their Week 3 matchup with New Orleans Saints. Let's get into it. Alright, we are starting with a kickoff, as I was expecting, but we are going to see how the Seattle Seahawks camera operator is going to deal with the kickoff at home. Let's see what they do. Okay, they do a great job here of getting out wide, seeing everybody as they're coming in down the field. You'll see them pull out a little bit to find the ball on this side. They're seeing the receiver. Ball's going to come down here, and then they're going to start moving forward. As everyone's moving forward, everyone is condensing, and they come in tight to see a good close-up of that. That's about as good as it's going to get with special teams. It's one of the most difficult things that you're going to do in all of football. So we're going to count that as excellent. All right. Let's start this one over here. Nice setup here. Everybody is set. And as the play develops, they stick with everyone coming in close. Great play. Alright, we're within 5 yards on both sides of the ball. Run play, moving forward. They do not zoom out very far, just enough to keep everyone in. That's good play. Alright, so right here they're staying tight, but there's a whole lot of extra space on the left-hand side. I would expect that the play is going to be moving forward, not backward, so I would probably put the ball closer to the left-hand side. Does not have to be all the way tight to that side, but it would make sense to have, about 2/3 of the field, 2/3 of the shot looking towards the defensive side of the ball. Everything about that looks pretty good. I'm going to mark that as good. That's a good play. Excellent. Staying with the moving, changing situation. As everything develops, you're sticking with the guys on the left and the right. Everyone's going to be moving downfield. Okay. Very good. That's some good stuff. Excellent. See, the ball's about 2/3 to the defense there. That makes sense. Alright, right here, we've got a whole lot of extra space to the left. If we bring it up on the window here, we can take a look how much of this is actually being used for football. Okay. And that helps us to get an idea of how much, you know, what they would actually be grading out on. So right here, on the top of the screen here, you have a little bit of extra space. They're probably running about 80%, 80 to 85%, which isn't terrible, but it's, you know, there's certainly room to make some improvements there. But it's going to change as the play develops. So let's take a look here. Right here, to start, they've got good framing. You can't really get much better than that. They're right around 90 to 95%, which is great. Okay, but right here it gets a little wider than it really should. They should be framed up in this area. Okay. And if you put that down in the corner, you're going to see that there's about 40% here. So they're running about 60% width-wise, and I'd say about 60%, 60 to 65% top and bottom. So there's a whole lot of extra green here that isn't really going to be helpful at this point. I'd rather see, you know, numbers on players at this point. All right. And as the play develops, you can see there's still going to be a whole lot of extra space to this side. If it were to develop naturally into that space, that's great, but it really doesn't. They're still operating within that smaller frame compared to the rest of the area of the screen that's not being used. And then they zoom in at the end to get some. So now we're going to see, you know, the people who are actually making the plays here at the end are going to be involved, which is helpful to see their numbers. Okay, so let's take one last look at this play from the beginning all the way through. You can see that there's room for improvement here, but as this is their first negative of the game, you know, in the first 10 plays, it's really not too bad. I think they're overall looking really good right now, but they did not cling to the edges on that shot, so we'll mark them as a negative on that one. Okay, overall this is okay. It could be better, but it was a good play. Good framing, good start. Zooming out a little bit with the play develops, recognizing it as a run, and then zooming back in. That's pretty darn good. Good framing to start, opening up with the play as it develops, tipped away. That's excellent. Excellent filming right there. Good framing to start. Guy goes in motion. That's going to change some things. Looking up, then coming back down. Touchdown. Fantastic. Cameraman's doing great. Team's doing great. Scoring touchdowns. Kicking extra points. Everything's excellent. All right, we're back to the kickoff. So that was a great opening drive for the Seahawks. Widening out to see where the ball lands and then coming back in. Some teams are showing the kicker coming down the field. Some of them aren't. It's not sure if there's an actual regulation behind showing the kicker, but he's really not doing much back there. I'd rather see a better shot of the other 21 guys on the field. But if they're going to include him, as long as they're doing everything else right, that's fine. That's excellent footage right there. This is a nice tight shot to start. Okay, within a couple yards on each side. Excellent. Great play by the defense. Okay, again, staying tight. And look at that. Not zooming out at all, recognizing the run and leaving it right where it's at. If you've got a good framing, you don't have to adjust it. That's awesome. Okay, we're coming back out, but fantastic. Excellent shot. And we're into special teams. We're punting. Obviously, they did not get the first down on the quarterback sneak. Excellent job of getting out to the edge to where the ball comes down. And look at that. Punter was not in the shot until he is, and then he gets knocked down. And we're going coast to coast on this one for the touchdown. Crowd's going wild. Camera's shaking. The whole stadium's shaking. That's completely understandable, but kicking the extra point. Excellent framing. Doesn't make any adjustments. Great work. Look at that run of excellent right there. That's what I'm talking about. Again, special teams. 3 special teams in a row. It's always a good sign. Excellent stuff. All right. 7:25 on the clock. Great framing. No play on this one, but it all was shaping up really nicely. First and 15. Wow, look at that. Staying nice and tight with everybody. That is excellent, excellent footage. Tight framing. And no play again. Let's take a look at this though. As they're zooming out. Okay, you can see there's a guy. He's within 2 yards on this side. Quarterback's got a little bit of extra space back here, but within 5 yards, it's fine. And look at that. That space is immediately gobbled up by a defender coming this direction. And you still only have 3 yards here on this side. So, I mean, in total, you have less than 5 yards. This is as good as it's going to get on a no play. Doesn't really count for anything, but just goes to show how good of a job that the Seattle Seahawks camera operator is doing, and I'm expecting that they're going to be grading out very high if they're going to continue to have footage like this. Looks good. Okay. Okay, so this is overall a good play. The one thing I would look at here is your receiver on this left-hand side is so far out past where the quarterback is. I would put him right on this edge here, because the very first thing he's going to do is run downfield, and that leaves all this space behind the quarterback. So, yeah, and guess what? That's exactly what happens now. Now that he left, vacated, there's a whole 12 yards to this side. It would make sense just to start shifted to the defensive side of the ball. 2/3 of the defense is kind of a general rule. It doesn't always work out that way, but in this case, I would rather see what's going on behind the defense, expecting that they could be, backing up with receivers running downfield on go routes. But in this case, tackles him right there anyway, so that works. Just wanted to point that out. That's something that I've seen over and over again, and it's something that you'll see as you're filming football games. But overall, everybody's still in the shot, and they're still staying tight, so it's overall a pretty good shot. Yeah, that's really good footage. Fourth and 12. Punting. Okay. Obviously, you got the punter on the left side, and it's blocked. Oh my goodness. Okay, change of directions. All right, we were thinking we were going down the field, and blocked the punt, and the cameraman immediately recognized it and adjusted, so that's great. All right. Nice tight framing here. Going in for a score. Seattle Seahawks doing Super Bowl caliber things right now in this game. And the camera operator getting every last bit of it. Fantastic. Staying with everybody. Even the blocker down on the left-hand side, the receiver was blocking, kept him in the shot, and got the rest of it. I like that he stays really tight on these extra points. Sometimes you can kind of get lured into forgetting that how easy it is to frame it up and then just leave it, right? You get it where it needs to go, and then you don't have to make any adjustments. Thinking that you end up working harder than you need to by doing that, but you really don't. Kickoff was good. Nice tight framing on first down. Okay. So here, I'm just going to stop and take a look and see if you can make any adjustments that are going to improve this, or if this is really as good as it's going to get. All right, zoomed out. Obviously, you're expecting that the play is going to develop and widen out a little bit. If there is the opportunity to do that, you want to still stay tight, okay? But they're within 90%. It's still pretty darn good. Overall, I'm expecting this to, not go any further than that. So at that point, you can come back in and zoom back in with the run, and they recognize the run and come right back in. So that's about as good as you're going to get on that. Okay. It's really good. Really good. About 5 yards behind the quarterback, but I'd rather have that than have guys running off the screen. As long as they're doing everything else right, that's going to be excellent footage on the whole. Again, excellent recognition of what's going on the field and adjusting accordingly, anticipating what's going to happen next, but not changing anything unless they see that that is what's going to happen next. All right, so here again, can we stay any tighter than this? There's space down here at the bottom. There's no one coming this direction, so zooming out doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. To add more space behind the quarterback, you still have space behind the defender, and it's a quick pass out to the outside, basically a run at that point, and coming back in. On the whole, they're doing fine, but it could be a little tighter, but it really isn't. It's not. There's really nothing bad about it. It's good stuff. Good framing to start, and coming in with the run, recognizing that it's not going any further than that. It's really good stuff. If they're getting footage like this the entire season, they are seeing what they're doing day in and day out that well with this level of excellence. There's no question why they're able to, take it all the way to the Super Bowl this year. Alright, so here we've got a whole lot of extra space behind the running back, behind the quarterback, and almost nothing behind the defender. The first thing they have to do is move to the right, right? So it doesn't... if you're anticipating that the very first movement you're going to have to do is to the right, and you have room on the left, go ahead and move to the right to start. Start it with extra space on the defender side, and then you don't have to make that adjustment. You can see the very first thing that's going to happen with the camera is that it's going to move this direction immediately before anything else happens. They're already doing it naturally. So if you're going to be doing it naturally anyway, it makes sense to just go ahead and start that direction. And we're okay, and we are back thanks to a refresh of NFL.com. We are back at it with 3rd and 7. Nice tight framing, sticking with the defense and the offense. Excellent catch. Zoom in to see the people around the ball at the end. Alright, switching sides, second quarter. 1st and 10. Again, first thing that they're doing is moving downfield. Go ahead and start it there, but again, they're still doing everything very, very, very well throughout the course of this game. I'm seeing everything I would want to out of the Seattle Seahawks right now, and the camera operators staying with it. Excellent stuff there. Alright, what's going on here? Everybody's moving around. Well, kinda. Nothing really happened. Framing stays the same, and recognizing the run and coming in, excellent. Wow. What a play. All right. Great shot. Great framing. Not much adjustment needed to happen, so don't. Okay. All right. They're doing everything so well right now. It really, really is, top 5 in the NFL as far as filmers. Yeah, overall, it's good play. All right, special teams here. Extra point. Looks good. All right. So he was keeping the kicker in, then he got rid of the kicker, and then the kicker comes back in. So everything else is looking really good. All right, framing is good within 5 yards on both sides. A little bit of a motion from the back in the backfield, and look at that. All right, so I want to take a look here. Obviously, this is excellent footage. Okay, so there is a little change before the play. So back goes in motion, but he really doesn't go laterally. I mean, obviously he's not going towards the line of scrimmage, so that's not going to change the left to right framing, and there's absolutely no change from the camera operator. So that is fantastic. Look at that. This guy here on the right, safety, drops back a little bit, and he's right on the edge. Can you stay with him? Absolutely. Okay, he's right there. They do widen out here a little bit, but they're still within range. And then right here, as the pass is thrown, he doesn't immediately see the pass and move the camera to center on the ball. He leaves it to show still what's going on back here, and what's going on here, and what's going on here. So everybody is still in the framing of the shot, and you can see they're sticking within that window. Okay. If you put it down to the corner and get an idea of how much he's actually using, he's still at this 85 to 90% space here. Okay, so as the play develops, he's sticking within this window fairly well, and that's pretty solid. Obviously, you'd like to cut out some of this extra space here, but on a play like this, everybody's moving around, and that's pretty darn good to do everything else as well as he did. Okay, zooming out with the play, and for a touchdown. And yeah, everything I wanted to see in that play is right there. Okay, that was a quick play to the end zone, recognizing that's where it's going and getting it done for your film, for your team. Okay, this shot was solid. Special teams, keeping the kicker in the shot on this one. Zooming out, it's a little farther out wide than really you need to be, but I'd rather do that and see where the ball lands and then get in closer. The less you have to zoom out, the better. But special teams is going to be difficult to stay with, a ball going that distance that quickly. and trying to keep everybody in the shot. Overall, that was a good shot there. Nice tight framing within 5 yards on both sides. Excellent. Everybody's staying in that shot, clinging to the edge of the shot, and coming back in to see who's around the ball at the end. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. All right. Okay, so I've talked about having extra space behind the quarterback several times here. In this case, you're still 2/3 to the defense here, so I don't mind having that extra space right now as long as, you know, they're using it wisely throughout the rest of the play, and they do. It could be a little tighter on the back end with the defenders there, but overall that was really good footage. And we're punting. Okay, special teams widening out to see where the ball lands. That's exactly what the punter needs to know for distance of his punts, hang time, all that. And then you also want to see what the other 21 guys on the field are doing as they're covering that. Tight framing here, a little extra space to the defensive side, but overall that's good stuff right there. It's a good play. Nice and tight on the left side, within 5 yards on the right side. Moving with the ball, moving with the team, and zooming in to see, wow, this push at the end. Okay, so look at the camera flow with all this movement, okay? It's a rollout, bootleg pass, coming back this direction, play action to the left, coming back right. Everybody's moving, and the camera just kind of keeps everybody within that frame. You got extra space here on the left-hand side, but everything else is looking really good. If you were to tighten up that left side, then you wouldn't have the extra space on the right after the pass is thrown. Okay, you've got extra space on the left, and then when you come to the right, now you got extra space on the right. Right, so if you can keep this tighter throughout, you'll have it even better. You're going to be more in this range where you have very little space to both sides. Right there is about as good as you can do it as far as keeping up with the play and all that. So, yep. And the push at the end, almost to the end zone. Love it. Tight framing, goal line is going to be a little tighter on a run play, pushing it right in. You know, there's some zooming in at that point. You're so tight, I don't really feel like you need to, but there's really nothing wrong with it. Every time you make an adjustment in filming a football game, the person watching it, their brain has to adjust to what you just changed. So anytime you can just lock it down and not move anything, that's going to be your best possible option. But who's locking it down when you've got, you know, guys running 40-yard dashes down the field and covering, you know, on special teams? Obviously, it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, just not making any changes is the best possible option. Overall, good stuff. A little bit extra space on the sides. Okay. So right here, let's take a look at this. Nothing wrong with it. Okay, it's still pretty tight. There is extra space here on the top, and there's no space on the bottom. Okay, so my question would be, why not just center it? Split the difference. If you're going to leave space, don't leave it all on one side. You know, don't leave extra space up here and no space down here. But as you develop here, let's take a look on the box. All right, boxing them up here. You got a guy on the bottom, guy on the top. All right, and to the left, you're going to have extra space behind the defender. All right, if that's actually where you were framing it, you would be right around that 85 to 80 to 85% of your screen is actually being used for football here. So you can tighten that up and go from there, but on the whole, still showing everything you need to in football, and that's the main thing. But good enough for what we're doing here, but there is room for improvement to put in that excellent range, like so many of the other plays that the Seattle Seahawks do have here. So again, same thing here. You're cutting off this defender at the bottom of the screen. His legs run off the bottom of the screen, and there's an extra, 7 yards above on the other side. At that point, oh, and look at that, the pass comes this direction anyway, right? And instead of coming down, zooming out, at that point, if you were already here, you would already be in position to not have to move the camera. And again, if you're in position correctly to not have to move the camera, and you don't have to, then that is your best case scenario. Okay, little extra footage of some of the stadium and the sidelines, and no play on that one. Okay, let's see the framing on this. Okay, if we were to put the box on this one, yep, it's right about that same 85 to 80%. And on the whole, not bad. Excellent work there, nice and tight. And no reason to make many adjustments on that. Yep, same here. You have to zoom out for the top and bottom to keep everybody in, and that's totally fine. Some talking, some hand waving. Wow. Excellent camera work right there. Again, no reason to make any adjustments, so don't. Framed up correctly to start, this team is seeing everything they need to from this footage, and wow, that looks good. Okay, so I've been critical at times of how much space is extra on each side, and let's just pause it here. No space. No space. No space. A little bit of space, but this ball is a launch ball coming down the field, and he stays with it. That is excellent, excellent, excellent stuff coming from the NFL. These players are moving very quickly, and keeping up with them running that far and staying that tight is a challenge. Okay. Special teams. It's a challenge staying with everybody, but it's doable, and people are showing that. Okay. Did not make the field goal, so. Huh. Not sure what happened right there. 1st and 10. Something happened on 1st and 10. Okay, we are back on track here. This is all good footage. Wow. Run recognition, expecting that there is a run coming. He saw it, came back in. A little bit extra space to the defender side once he recognized it, but still pretty good overall. Excellent work. Nice and tight. People were really pressing the edge of the screen on that last play, and they stuck with them. Again, extra space to the quarterback side, no extra space to the defender side. Even just splitting the difference makes sense. But everything else they're doing very, very well. Special teams, kicking an extra point, kicking a field goal at this point. Putting points on the board. And again, not making any adjustments during the play. You can zoom in afterwards if you want. But again, you're that tight, you really don't need to. Just let that one go. And of course, you do need to zoom out on the very next play, the kickoff. And one of the most difficult things you're going to do, that and punt. Staying with punt, keeping everybody in the shot and trying to find where that ball's going to land. Anticipating without even seeing it in your screen, or what's actually happening in front of you in the shot. All right. It's good stuff. tight framing within 5 yards. Okay, you can see the difference in formation from the last plays. There's 2 or 3 plays where everybody was spread out. Now they're a little more condensed. The principles stay the same. You still have to keep guys tight to each edge, and then keep everybody else in between that. Alright, you got extra space behind the defender on this one, within 10 yards. Yeah, that's really well done. Keeping everybody tight. And again, there's no reason to shift the camera just because of movement on the field unless it's pressing, outside of the edge of your shot. This is the start of the third quarter. I have not seen a single person run off the edge of the shot, but I have seen plenty of times where they've got people right on the edge, and that is a skill that this Seattle camera operator is doing an excellent job at. Run recognition, seeing that the ball is staying on the ground and there's no reason to zoom out. Receivers are going to be the ones pressing the edges of your shot, and so if they're not doing that, if they're blocking and the defenders are trying to get past them, everything's going to condense. Okay? Speaking of receivers pressing your shot, that one could stay a little tighter, but on the whole looked really good. Stayed with the play. Motion before the play doesn't change anything in the framing. Staying on the ground. Dropped out the receiver on the top of the frame because nobody was over there. He wasn't really doing anything. He was a decoy at that point. Okay. Flowing with the mass of the players. Alright. Not centering the ball, not centering the running back as he's running, but just allowing the play to develop within your frame. Again, allowing the quarterback running with the ball on the edge of the shot at the bottom of the screen so that you can still see what everybody else is doing. There's no reason to zoom, to pan down, show what's going on down below him because there's nobody over there. Okay, coming back this way. Oh my goodness. Yeah, buddy. Heck of a leap. And it's all on camera. I saw it with my own eyes. A little bit of a jump off the ball there. I don't know if that was offsides or not, but looked like it. One of the best things I've seen here is just recognizing that you don't have to move the camera. If you're seeing everything, there's no reason to make any adjustments. And then recognizing you are going to have to make adjustments. It's good stuff. A lot of things happening there. Quarterback's trying to find a receiver quick. Receivers are moving downfield. Everything changed on a dime when he started running with it and took the sack basically. So changes from a run play to a pass play to a run play. You have to make that recognition and adjustment on the fly. Okay. Alright, so we're wider than we have been. Alright, you can see right here at this point we have a much tighter frame, much wider frame than we really need it. Okay, quarterback's out of the play. We do not need to necessarily show him at this point on a run play, but there's obviously room to bring this in. This is about 40% of your shot. Okay, but where does that stem from? Right here, there's room for this to tighten up. Okay, there's room behind the running back, quarterback on the left hand side, and pretty tight to the right. Okay, so when this defender starts dropping back, instead of moving to the right, zooming out, now we're zoomed out and it's a run play. So guess what happens? That framing ends up way wider than it needs to. Okay, just because of this simple fact that not having the extra space here would have changed this framing completely to right there. Okay, and that's some solid framing right there. That's 90%, right? So you can see how that 90% framing, because he left this extra space, here, made all the difference later in the play when he, once you get to this point, you're already zoomed out like that. The defender going deep, you're going single high safety, is going to make a difference. Why you have to zoom out that far, but having this extra space here, that small change made a big difference right here. Okay, because you're not going to zoom out and then zoom back in immediately. That's almost more jarring than just leaving it out wide. All right. Okay, and immediately recognizes the mistake from last time, makes the correction, and is so much tighter on this one. And that's what professionals do. You're filming 160, 180 games a play, 180 plays a game, right? If you're improving on every single play, game after game after game, you're going to just continue to refine that skill. But you have to know the right things to do as well. Immediate run recognition. This camera operator is very good at seeing the run and immediately stopping any zoom that's happening and seeing the ball develop and then zooming back in once he once the play develops. Yep. At that point, you're cutting out a couple guys on this backside here. That's fine. Okay, same criticism as before, just having extra space behind the quarterback and then having to adjust to the right naturally because that's where the play goes. Run recognition, as good as it can get there. Okay, well, we came out wide on this one. I'm interested in seeing why. Okay, this framing here. About 80%. Okay, if it stays there, that's not too bad. Out wide again. Let's check it. That's a referee. 2 referees on this side. Quarterback here. So we want to keep that. Yep, they're still right about 80%. Okay. See where it goes from there. Still going out wider. Still going out wider. Okay. And still right about 80%. So not bad. Okay, extra space at the top of the screen, no extra space at the bottom of the screen. And then zooming out to adjust for that. He probably knew that play was coming. So, special teams, kicking a field goal. No adjustments in the framing. Good framing to start, really nice and tight. That is not the case with every NFL filmer. There are adjustments being made during the play. There are people who are out wider and then zooming in the middle of the play. Completely unnecessary stuff. The Seahawks filmer is not doing any of that. Okay, within 5 yards, both sides. Toss right. Oh my goodness. Flags are flying. Stays with it. Again, that run recognition from this filmer is one of the strengths that I've seen from this film. Okay, framing top and bottom and then zooming out to stay with that guy. I'd rather just split the difference and give both of them space. The receiver on the top, the receiver on the bottom. Allow them to fill that space naturally as opposed to zooming out, making an adjustment that you don't necessarily need. quick pass, zooming out with everybody, and then immediately recognizing the pass is away and going to find the ball. That's really good. It's similar to run recognition, just recognizing that this play is going to change. It's going to condense very quickly. Everybody's expanding, the play's expanding with everybody running downfield, but as soon as the ball's away, everybody's headed in that direction anyway. Go ahead and find the ball. Okay. A little wider downfield, but okay. A little bit of anticipation on where guys are he's expecting that the people are going to be, without them actually pressing the edge. But again, any coach watching this sees everything that they need to, and that's the most important part. That is as good as it gets right there. Staying with everybody, and touchdown in the back corner of the end zone. Gotta love it. No play. Alright. I'm expecting this to be spot on. No adjustment needed. Special teams. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. You have almost no space behind that receiver catching the ball. Okay. Run recognition's not as good on this one as it has been in previous plays, but still really good. Oh, the color changed a little bit. We'll shift the color temperature, which I don't care about. Okay, motion, people pointing everywhere. What's going on? No play. Tight framing, 2/3 to the defense, moving that direction, everything zooming out, staying tight. That's really good NFL filming right there. 4th and 8, kicking the punt. Oh. Alright, following the punt coverage, if there is some, there it is, okay. That's as good as it gets, you guys. Nice tight framing within 5 yards on both sides. Run recognition, zooming in. 4th and 4, going for it in the fourth quarter. 11 minutes to go. Wow. I mean, from a filming perspective, that was as good as it gets. From a defensive perspective, also as good as it gets. Catching interceptions deep on 4th and 14, 4th and 4. Two-thirds to the defense. Keeping everybody in the shot. Okay. So right here, I would say, what's the reason for zooming out? Okay, if you don't have to adjust, don't. So I recognize that you want to stay with everybody, making sure they're staying in the shot. But right here, zooming out, nobody's really going towards the edge of the shot. I'm expecting this defender to come deeper, but he's not doing that. So anticipating and reacting are two different things, right? Responding to the action as it happens is different from just expecting it to happen and then making that adjustment. On the whole, he's still, within 10 yards, and it's a run. As long as everybody's still in the shot, is the goal. But if you don't have to zoom out with it, then don't. But again, on the whole, still doing everything correctly. A lot of hang time here. Holy moly. All right. Great punt. This is just a string of excellent plays, good plays, really nothing to critique too heavily. People are not moving off the screen, which is rare in the NFL, but it does happen. People are not, in this, footage, you're not seeing a whole lot of extra space along the edges. Which does happen in the NFL. It really is an example of, how to do things right at this level, which is difficult. These are difficult stadiums to film in. The height, the window that you have to get that zoom to work exactly in that space is tighter than most stadiums you're going to film at. Specifically at the high school level, college. You get to the NFL, it's just a much more difficult location to film from. But this camera operator is really knocking it out of the park, and on par with some of the best stuff I've seen. Okay. So a whole lot of extra space to the defensive side there, and then cutting out players on the other side. If you're going to leave extra space on one side, why do that at the expense of keeping other players in? If you're cutting out players, that's there needs to be a reason for it. The reason shouldn't be to have extra space, behind the defender. Okay, tight within 5 yards, both sides. More space to the running back side, which leaves more space behind the running back as he runs. I'd rather have more space to the defender side if you have to leave space. Third and 4. All right, 3rd and 4. Okay, we got the ball centered left to right, which leaves more space behind the quarterback, and then zooming out, leaving more space on both sides. It's not great framing. Okay, special teams, one of the best at anticipating where that ball's going to go and finding it. Okay. So, run recognition coming back in, zooming out a little bit when you should have been zooming in, but that's all right. Okay. Okay, a little bit of slight zoom out without having a reason for it, but very subtle. Kneeling on the ball, excellent. Best play in football. So there you go. All right, so with 164 plays, 162 positive plays, 2 plays that I marked as zooming out farther than they really should have, puts you at a score of 99% with a bonus of 72% of them being excellent plays. So adding it all up, totaling it all up, you come to 105.98%. That puts you in the top 5 as far as what your team is able to see on the field. Overall, I think your strengths are just seeing the run recognition when the ball's on the ground, recognizing that you do not need to zoom out any farther, that you can let it sit there, and everybody's going to stay within that frame. Nobody's running out away from the ball when the ball's on the ground. There are a couple times when you can tighten up on some of the wider shots, but like I saw in the video, really just a couple. And really only two that I saw that were, so far out that enough to mark as a negative. So there you go. Seattle Seahawks Week 3 versus the New Orleans Saints. Wow, what a spectacular performance from the filmer of all places you're going to find. The camera operator for this did an excellent job. Looking forward to seeing what they've done for the rest of this season, giving them an overall grade, and seeing which cameraman grades out the best in the NFL for the 2025 season. Stay tuned for more.